Now, Rosie, I thought it would be interesting to just throw some words at you and for you to give me the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear these nutrition terms, because we hear them all the time these days, and I'm not sure that, people truly understand some of the meanings behind them. So here we go. Gluten-free.
Gluten-free. Gluten-free foods are wonderful foods, are necessary foods for those people with celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disease, and for people who have a gluten sensitivity. But for most people, going gluten-free is not necessary and in fact may not be healthy. It can be very hard for a person with celiac disease to really balance their diet. And so when people hear gluten-free, it helps you lose weight. It's not going gluten-free that helps you lose weight. When people are on gluten-free diets, they cut out a lot of refined grain products. They cut out, white bread. They cut out other kinds of snack foods. And so gluten-free is very important for people who need to do it, but they should do it after being tested and not before, because sometimes the testing will not yield good results if a person's gone gluten-free. But it's definitely not something necessary or advantageous for the general public.
Organic products.
Organic products can be very good. There's some research saying that for young children, having organic products may offer more benefit because there may be fewer pesticides. They're not pesticide free. There can be cross contamination, but there's a few issues though. When people are looking at organic foods, sometimes they're more expensive. And if they're more expensive, then the fruits and vegetables or grains may not be consumed. It's most important to consume an adequate amount of fruits and vegetables and whole grains. And if price is a concern, then it should be then conventional produce should be good. Now, the other thing is that the organic movement has been very important in changing conventional farming where pesticides are used. The organic movement is very important to have around, even if you're not purchasing organic foods. Because of organic farming, conventional farmers many years ago started looking at their use of pesticides. And, many years ago, pesticides were used much too much. And what's happening now is that when pesticides are being used, they're being used in minimal amounts. Farmers don't want to spray more than they have to. It costs them money. And so they want to use the least amount of pesticides, and that way they save money, and then the produce is also lower in pesticide levels.
Now, one thing that I know I always question every single time I'm in the grocery store is the word natural on products. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, natural can mean many things. It can be, a natural flavor. There may actually in that apple product be a little bit of natural apple flavor and not much else that is natural. Natural, one of my particular pet peeves would be, sort of the natural deli meats, which many do contain nitrites and nitrates, and they are derived from cultured celery extract. So it is natural, but whether something is artificial or natural and it's not great for us, like nitrates or nitrates, it's still the same negative ingredient in our food.
One word that always, seems to appear on every single food label: sodium.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a big one.
Okay. Sodium. We have a problem here in Canada in that our foods, compared to the rest of the world, are much higher in sodium than the same product in another country. The government had an opportunity to pass a private member's bill, Bill C-460, a sodium reduction strategy for Canada, and the government decided not to pass it. We can read food labels, but the food labels are very difficult to read in that serving sizes are not standardized. And so, for example, you look to see how much sodium is in a particular food product. So you look at how much sodium there is. And then you look at another food product. Well, one may be 1 cup serving and the other may be a ½ cup serving. And so unless you've got your calculator there or you're reading everything and taking a lot of time, then you're not necessarily getting the lowest sodium product. The other thing is that we consume about 3,400 milligrams of sodium, and the highest amount of sodium that we should be consuming in a day is 2,300 milligrams. We're getting much too much sodium, so we should be doing things like walking around the outside of the supermarket. Excuse me.
Oh.
My allergies are killing me. We are consuming much too much, and one simple way to eat less sodium is to stay away from processed foods. Take the outside of the supermarket, get your fruits and vegetables that are not processed, for example.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing how those frozen food sections have grown over the years. I'm always amazed by how large that area of the supermarket has become.
But you can buy in the center aisles. You can enter into that area. You just need to you need to put the time towards reading. But if you're buying things like even plain, frozen fruits, frozen vegetables, look on the label, see if there's any sodium added. And if you're buying plain frozen fruits and vegetables, you're not going to get any sodium. As soon as you start adding sauces to it, for example, then it's a whole different ballgame. When you're buying canned foods, certain canned foods, if you do rinse them, then you can lower the sodium content. So, for example, canned tuna, canned salmon, if you rinse them with water, then you will get much less sodium. If you're buying canned tomatoes, I mean, we don't have great tomatoes in the middle of winter. If you're buying canned tomatoes, look for those that say no added salt. And then just check the nutrition facts box.
The natural next word, of course, is sugar.
Yes. We also consume much too much sugar, and we need to read labels better. If you're getting sugar from your fruit, that's wonderful. If you're getting sugar from fruit juice or from soft drinks, sugar-laden cereals, snack foods, we need to cut down on the amount of sugar that we're having. The sugars that are sort of hidden in the foods sometimes can really add up. If you're getting a little sugar that's like a seasoning, it's the end of an ingredient list, then that's not a problem. If you're getting a little sugar in a canned tomato product, for example, the tomatoes may have been tart. But if you're getting sugar in your cereal, for example, then you need to look at the label more carefully. One of the problems with our labels is that natural sugars are not broken down and separated from added sugars. So when you're looking at an ingredient list, you don't just see sugar. What happens is when you look at the ingredient list, look for all the different kinds of sugar that may be added. There could be glucose, there could be dextrose, there could be fructose, there could be maltose, and so, or there could be there could be corn syrup, there could be, and what happens is when the ingredients lists, when you're looking at the ingredient lists, ingredients are listed in descending order by amount. That means the first ingredient is the most, the last ingredient is the least. But you can be fooled there because there can be 5 different kinds of sugars. And if you put those together, they would be the first ingredient. So it's important to get to know which products you want to buy when you're looking at processed foods.
That's really excellent advice. And, I'm thinking as you're speaking that anybody who is daunted by the supermarket or daunted by, preparing healthy meals or whatever is going to be thinking, well, I'm going to be spending a heck of a lot of time reading food labels. But really, if you do it once and you do it properly, you're always going to go back for those staples, right?
Exactly. And you can also look at a lot of these products online. You can look and see, different ingredient lists, different companies. If you're buying from a major food company, if it's a smaller food company, then yes, you're going to have to look. And also, but if you're doing it if you're buying things regularly, every once in a while, just check that the formulation has not changed.
Now, Rosie, in closing, would you say that in your opinion that you expected us to be further along in this whole healthy eating and nutrition area than we are? Or do you think that baby steps are being made in the time that you've been working as a nutritionist and all the work that you've done to where we are now?
Oh, I would say we've come a long way. But I've been in practice for a long time. I mean, when I first started in practice, people who were overweight were the ones who needed to watch what they were eating, and then people thought it wasn't important. We are making progress. So people now, whether they're thin or whether they're overweight, they know that healthy eating is important. Where we're having difficulty is that there's so much confusing information out there, and we should be getting more nutrition education in school. We should be getting nutrition education. Kids who are 5, 6, and 7, they believe everything the teacher says or whoever is in the classroom. So we need more nutrition education for children. We need more nutrition education for adults, and we need the government to help us in providing regulations for healthier foods.
Are we closer to that than we might think at this point, or not?
In terms of the government or in terms of our action? In terms of the government, I would say absolutely not. There's so many confusing things that are going on. The government, I'll quickly tell you, the government is spending a lot of money on telling consumers to look at their nutrition facts table and look for the percentage DV, percentage daily value, to help them see what they should be choosing in the supermarket. But the figures that they're using are 30 years old. And as a result of that, consumers are being misled. So when you look at a cup of milk, it says that it has 45% of your daily value of your vitamin D, when in fact it doesn't have 45%. We should be having, instead of the 200 international units that the government's talking about, the daily value should be 600. So the government has spent $1 million to tell us to look at the percentage daily value on our food products. The food industry spent another $7 million, and then it's on 8 million packages, food packages, to tell us to look at the percentage daily value. And the numbers are wrong. And so when we could be making progress, if the government had spent the time revising those daily values and then launched into this program, then it would help consumers. So consumers have food companies telling them that products are natural, or that they're good for them, that they contain fruit, when in fact they may not be that healthy. And then when you look at the nutrition labels, sometimes you can't you can't tell the difference. So I think people need to speak up and tell their, let their MPs know, shoot them a quick email, send them a phone call, call their offices and say, we want help with nutrition labeling. We want accurate information. And that will help consumers. It will help Canadians make better food choices.
Rosie Schwartz, thank you so much for your time. Tons of excellent information. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Lianne.